Hey folks, with Body Design University. In this video, I want to talk to you about a technique that NASM speaks to here in chapter 14 specifically. It's the self-myofascial techniques, and in particular, the rolling, right, foam rollers, because it is probably the most widely used technique when it comes to what is broadly termed self-myofascial release or myofascial release techniques. Without the self, myofascial release is a technique that can be very effective. You generally have to have a practitioner that actually knows what they're doing. Massage, generally, it's a licensed massage therapist will use that type of technique. But self myofascial release techniques, such as foam rolling, using I used to use like a tennis ball on my back. You can see actually on page 450, figure 1415, using a handheld roller. It's kind of like kneading dough, is what I always think of. Any of those techniques can be helpful and effective. And because you can do it on your own, it has become a fairly common method to include into sort of your stretching program or techniques that you use. So flexibility, of course, right, is what the chapter is talking about. But this specific area here on starting on page 450, self-myofascial techniques, just want to talk to you more about the rolling concept and kind of help you to understand some things. Now, for sure, NASM is very good at explaining some of these things. And I want to read to you at the bottom of page 451. It's a very simple, very straightforward explanation that pretty much clears up any questions or issues. But I do want to highlight a couple of words that they use. So they say that self-myofascial rolling, it's a flexibility technique. We often put it under, your stretching regimen, to be honest. That focuses on the neural system, right? So what does it mean by the neural system? You would have already learned that, you talking about mechanoreceptors, right? Golgi tendon, muscle spindle fibers, focuses on the neural system and fascial systems in the body. What's fascia, right? It's the connective tissue that surrounds muscles. It surrounds the fascicles. It's all of that material, fibrous tissue that what we're talking about here in this specific case is the material that separates the muscles from each other and muscle tissue itself. So fascial systems in the body, or the fibrous tissue that surrounds, separates muscle tissue, by applying, here's the word, and you may want to circle this, and you may want to write the word across your forehead backward. So every time you look in the mirror, you remember this word. It's called gentle, gentle force. Because I will say this, it's one of the reasons why I want to do this video. I see folks doing the foam roller and doing some of these techniques. Holy cow. What are y'all doing? It's gentle pressure, gentle squeezing. The rolling component of self-myofascial rolling, or SMR, the foam roller is not, you're not kneading dough. Okay, so the idea, and they'll talk about it in the chapter, but please keep in mind, the roller is not for rolling, so to speak. You use the rolling aspect to get to the point where you have that trigger point, generally, or a knot, and you hold it and you apply what type of pressure? Gentle pressure. See people doing stuff where they're literally squeezing the muscle. They think they're doing massage, squeezing it and cutting off circulation to either themselves or their clients. So by applying gentle force to an adhesion, casually referred to as a knot, the elastic muscle fibers are altered from a bundled position and elongates those fibers. Remember, most of the fascial material is composed of collagen, which is a protein, and collagen can bunch up and get all get all tangled, and they need to be realigned or lengthened, get their linearity back in place. And that's really all that's doing. That's why stretching a muscle is feels good. One of the reasons is because you're literally lengthening and elongating the fibrous bundle in the fascia, which is essentially composed of collagen. So that's sort of the deeper scratch below the surface. Into a straighter alignment with the direction of the muscle or fascia. The gentle pressure, see, they use the word again. The gentle pressure from the implement used, whatever that is, such as a foam roller, will stimulate, and here it is, stimulate the GTO, the Golgi tendon organ. Remember what we call autogenic inhibition and its cousin, reciprocal inhibition, all basically comes from, and in this case, it's autogenic inhibition because it's within the single muscle itself. This is a critical reaction to gentle pressure for an extended period of time, 10 seconds, 20, even 30 seconds, will cause the GTO or the Golgi tendon organs to be stimulated. And when they are stimulated, they down regulate the muscle spindle fibers. Remember, your muscle spindle fibers are what keep any muscle in your body, as long as there's neurological stimulus, keeps those muscles in a state of tonus, right? In other words, partially contracted. And so it's the muscle spindle fibers that are doing that. The GTOs don't necessarily kick on unless there's a specific reason. And one of those reasons is this gentle pressure. GTOs become more active. And when the GTO becomes more active, it ultimately sends its signal, spinal column, back to the muscle spindle fibers. And then the muscle spindle fibers downregulate and the muscle is able to relax. And that's basically, they did it again. This paragraph is perfect. The gentle pressure, GTO, creates autogenic inhibition, decreasing muscle spindle excitation and releasing the tension of the underlying musculature. Gently put pressure on a muscle anywhere in the muscle, but generally it's going to be in the in the belly of the muscle. Generally, controlled gentle pressure over, again, 20 seconds. Generally, they'll tell you 30 seconds, which is fine. Causes this increased excitation of the GTO, which downgrades the excitation of the muscle spindle fibers. When that happens, the muscle, which is always under a slight low-grade tension known as tonus, actually loses that low-grade amount of excitation, and the muscle relaxes. Okay. And releasing attention on the underlying. In other words, gentle pressure, similar to a massage, helps to release unwanted muscular tension. Look at figure 14.4. Don't be rolling back and forth. I know it feels good, but all you do is hit that trigger point on your hamstring or your calf and hold it there. And you got to hold it there for a little bit. And what will start to happen is you'll notice that the muscle that you are putting gentle pressure on will actually relax. Most people don't do it correctly because they simply don't have the patience to wait for the actual GTO to become stimulated enough to relax the muscle or reduce the excitation of the muscle spindle fibers. It's a great way. Foam rolling is a great way on a non-exercise day, or I guess if you wanted to do it after your workout for this specific reason, to really relax your muscular system. I know folks that do foam rolling as a warm-up. Technically, it's not a warm-up. Simply because you're relaxing the muscle. Now, the muscle will re-engage. Of course, the muscle spindle fibers will re-engage. But in order to take that time, the amount of time it takes to get the muscle to relax takes away from the warm-up. I recommend definitely some sort of active stretching, active isolated stretching that only takes a couple of seconds upon the lengthening component. And then I would save foam rolling in the real world. I'd save foam rolling till after. Table 14.2, mechanism of action. I think, again, NASM did a great job of making it really simple to understand the action here. And sure, they're giving you some foam rolling exercises, and there are precautions and contraindications. You'll probably see this on the exam, one of the exams that they provide. Before programming this technique, you should consider any medical precautions or contraindications that could be unsafe for flexibility exercises. Obviously, these are the things, obviously, that we would be looking for. Once again, I'll just reiterate it over and over. I love the way NASM provides all their tables, charts, figures. It's just a great way to condense all the information for you to memorize. And, table 14.3, just rewrite it so so you can memorize that information. And by the way, you do need to know these contraindications, these medical precautions from a testing perspective. So that takes care of the myofascial techniques. Just important that you understand that what they're explaining to you, it's important that you read those words, gentle pressure. Okay, I think that is probably the most important part about the video. Is just remember, be very careful, be very gentle with the pressure if you're going to use this technique. As always, if this video did help you, either it made sense, it made sense, but if it was helpful, then write that in the comment section below for us. Let us know. Obviously, give us a like. And as always, if you got questions on this material in this video or any other video, please let us know. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.